Hello everybody, thanks for joining us as we get set for the second free practice session of the day here at the Red Bull Ring, a now dry Red Bull Ring after a wet start to the day and a largely wet first free practice. 45-minute session coming up in just about 4.5 minutes time. This is a slightly shorter session, and now we've got a dry track, and it's warmed up a little bit since this morning as well, almost 19 degrees. It promises to be a bit warmer tomorrow as well. And we have got this fantastic setting here in the Styrian Mountains of Austria for this penultimate weekend of DTM 2025. The history of this circuit goes all the way back to the 1950s when you used to have sports cars and later Formula 2 races held not here but just about 5 kilometres away, where there's an airfield at Zeltweg, and then the current circuit was built and became a permanent circuit in the late 1960s, of course, as the Österreich Ring, and hosted various Grand Prix and Formula 1 races. Became the A1 Ring then in the mid-1990s, and the track shape changed. And then it became the Red Bull Ring, reopened with huge investment, and 2011 was when it reopened this fantastic facility that we've got here. It really is second to none in terms of the buildings that you get, the media centre, which is huge, and the entrance to the circuit where you've got various Red Bull ex-Formula 1 cars and motorbikes on display here, and the 24th DTM race of the visits to the Red Bull Ring coming up tomorrow. DTM coming back here for the first time in a while. A few years ago, they first raced here back in 1987. The first DTM race held in Styria back in 2001. Won by Bernd Schneider, and they raced here again in 2002 and 2003, and then at the Red Bull Ring coming back and racing in more recent years. Last year, Mirko Bortolotti went on to win the championship, was a race winner in the Lamborghini. René Rast won in the BMW on Sunday, and then 2 years ago, Kelvin van der Linde and René Rast were the winners here in 2023. We've also had a couple of Ferrari wins here, but not for the 296. Nick Cassidy and Liam Lawson took a win apiece. In fact, Liam Lawson got 2 wins. He got a double victory in 2021. Nick Cassidy in 2022 won in a Ferrari. Thomas Preining won in a Porsche in 2022. He's had a couple of podium finishes since then. But for Jack Aitken, who's second in the championship standings, his best result here in his 3rd season now of DTM has only been an 8th place finish. Thierry Vermeulen in the Ferrari 296 has only managed a 9th place finish as his best result here. But the Ferrari was going well in the wet conditions this morning, particularly when it was being steered around the track by Jack Aitken, who was up there first and second for most of the session, but a very wet start to the first free practice session. The track dried out very quickly, in fact, for the last 10 minutes or so of the session, and in the end it was Maurice Scuring who, right at the end of the session, went quickest on a drying track with a 1 minute 37.887 seconds. So Maurice in the Manthey Junior Porsche finishing 2/10 clear of Jules Gounon, who was second quickest this morning. Luca Enxler improved right at the end of the session as well to go 3rd quickest, as did Max Powell, who was down the tail end of the times for most of the session, then shot up to 4th in the closing seconds. Jack Aitken in the end, because he wasn't circulating when the track was at its driest, dropped down to 5th place, and Jordan Pepper, who had a couple of offs at turn 4, nothing serious, a couple of runs through the gravel trap, one of the key championship contenders. He was in the top 6 as well, but it looks set to be dry now, so we should get some much quicker lap times. We've just had a free practice session for the ADAC GT Masters category, basically similar cars and Pirelli tyre that's used, and they were down into the 1:29, so going around about 8 seconds a lap quicker than we had in our wet free practice session this morning. 30 seconds to go then here at the Red Bull Ring. We got a pretty good view of the pit lane and the start-finish line, so we can see all the cars nosed out. We're almost directly opposite Jules Gounon, and we got a great view of the Manthey garage from where we are as well. And we can see they are all poised and ready to go. And here in the commentary box, you'll be hearing from me, Chris Hartley, and also for the rest of the weekend, Brian Oliver. Brian, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chris. Good afternoon, everybody, to a much drier Red Bull Ring. So lots of testing in the wet this morning. Good opportunity to get the wet setups. Now the opportunity opportunity to get the dry setups. Temperature's pretty good. We're almost at 19 degrees centigrade for air temperature. Track temperature up to 22.7. So altogether different. So this is good in a way because it's giving the teams an opportunity to experience two different opposite conditions, if you were, for the racing. We're not expecting rain tomorrow, but who knows? But Sunday, I see on the forecast there's the potential for some rain in the morning. So it's good that the teams are having the opportunity to run in the wet and the dry.
In terms of slick tyres for this weekend, the allocation for the Red Bull Ring is that on Saturday and Sunday, across the 2 race days, you get 3 sets of new Pirelli slick tyres. So 3 brand new sets which you have to use across 2 qualifying sessions and 2 races. Some circuits you get 4 sets, but it's only 3 here. And for free practice on Friday, you get 2 sets of slicks nominated, which have been allocated to the car for a previous event, so used tyres for this event. But you also get 1 additional new set of tyres, slick tyres, that you can use in free practice. Well, everybody was going around on wet tyres in the first free practice session, so in theory they should all have 1 brand spanking new set of tyres to use for this session. And that could be useful, Brian, because you want to use this session or part of this session to set up the cars for longer runs and see how the car and the tyre holds up over a 6 or 7 lap run as you get set for the race. But you've also got to think in your mind, well, the next time we're on track is tomorrow morning, it's qualifying, and we've absolutely got to make sure that we get a good setup for a 1 lap pace as well. So with those new sets of tyres available, 1 each, they should probably be able to get some dummy qualifying runs in this session.
Yeah, I expect to see that maybe later on in the session as the fuel tends to burn away in these cars and we get towards the end of the session, something that maybe will simulate qualifying. But as you say, this is the last time on track before quali tomorrow. Certainly the testing and free practice restricted here, so a lot of work to do in 42 3/4 minutes. Rene Rast will have high hopes. BMW have a great record here. He has a great record here up at the high altitude of the Red Bull Ring. So running on board with him, the growl of the engine. So yes, a critical 42.5 minutes remaining. Every car will need to be out on track. Every car is indeed now either on track or is coming onto the track. One of which is Timo Glock, who we didn't see in free practice 1 this morning. They started the warm-up of the car. They need to fire them up well in advance of the session to get the engines warmed up, and they're warming it up, and they discovered a turbocharger failure on the number 16 McLaren at Durham Motorsport. They said, we think we've got it repaired, but I'm just looking now that Timo Glock has been round, done a installation lap, has just driven straight back into the garage. They've already got the rear engine cover off the car and are frantically working on it. So it's not looking good for Timo Glock at Durham Motorsport. He's just gone headfirst into the garage and the mechanics all over it. So we'll keep an eye on that. Hopefully they can sort the problem out and get him back out before this session is over, because as we've already said, this is a really valuable 45 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely right. In a sense, it wasn't the worst case scenario for Timo missing that first pre-practice session because it was wet. So if it stays dry for the rest of the weekend, he hasn't really missed out too much. Of course, if we get some rain on Sunday, which might happen, we'll wait and see what the forecast says on Saturday night or Sunday morning. But then it might affect him. But it does seem like it's going to be dry tomorrow. But then again, he doesn't want to miss any of this session, so you're right, they could do with getting that car out there, and there's less time as well in this 45-minute session that we have. Gilles Magnussen was very impressive when it was very wet in the first part of the session. The Aston Martins in their first season in the championship, run by the Come To You Racing squad, 2 Belgian drivers, Belgian team that started out and had many years competing in Fun Cup endurance racing, and then moved to TCR touring car racing, and only a couple of years ago ventured into the world of GT3 racing. And only last year did they start to run the Aston Martins, having had a background with Audis. They made their debut at the start of this season, and they're making great strides forward as a team. Their pit stops have been very impressive, on a par with a lot of much more experienced teams, given that a couple of seasons racing GTs, but not with performance pit stops, not in this championship. So that's been a learning experience for them. And of course, the robust nature of the racing in the DTM, the drivers have had to get used to. But Gilles Magnussen has been very impressive. Picked up points in both of the races last time out. We had that excellent qualifying to be in the top 6 at the Norris Ring from his teammate Nicola Bart as well. And it's a circuit, as Brian said, where high top speed, there's a lot of it. There's a couple of very fast sections, very long straights here, and that will suit the cars with a higher top end speed like the BMWs, certainly like the Ford Mustangs, and maybe like the Aston Martins. They're long wheelbase cars, those 3 cars. They don't tend to like tight, twisty corners like hairpins, but it's all pretty open here, and it ought to suit them around this circuit. And Gilles Magnus is on a charge at the moment, 22.397, the absolute best first sector time for him. You're on board now with Jordan Pepper, who's also starting to push here, the South African, who currently runs right up there at the sharp end of the championship in 4th place. But he's only 6 points off the championship lead. Lucas Auer leading the championship on 151 points. Jack Aitken second, 2 points behind him on 149. And then Ian Nguyen and Jordan Pepper, 145 points apiece, running 3rd and 4th.
Already we've lost the bollard.
Yeah.
We haven't even got as far as we did in the previous session. The track limits are an issue here, particularly turn 9 and 10. We just were looking at the GT Masters session, free practice, prior to this. And we need a widescreen TV on its side to see all of the track limit infringements there were during that session. They need to keep it within those bollards. Well, say one of them has gone already. And let's have a look. And who was the guilty party? It looks like it might be Thierry Vermeulen. Yes, it was. So Mr. T. Vermeulen, an invoice for 1 bollard heading your way.
Yeah, so that bollard already went in the first free practice session. They replaced it. It's gone again now, like dominoes.
Our producer has decided that putting a camera in the bollard is not wise. We used to do that, you know, back in the day.
Braver than me, that's for sure. But you're right, track limit's always quite a big issue here, and it's kind of 50-50. The track limits warnings come either at the last corner, turn 10, or the first corner at turn 1. That last corner, incredibly fast. They approach it at 190 kilometres an hour. They only knock the speed down to about 140 kilometres an hour through it, 3rd gear corner. It's also quite steep downhill, the approach to it, and then the apex of the corner, and then the exit to the corner. It's all downhill, that final right-hander, so it sucks you to the edge of the circuit. There's almost another bollard gone from Arjun. It already begins to descend downhill as you come out of turn 9. Miney's about to, I think, set the quickest lap of the session, and he does indeed. 1 minute 29.256. So the Ford a handful in the wet, it seemed, this morning. And the BMW struggled in the wet this morning. However, Ford, BMW, 1st and 2nd now. Scratch that, because in between them, Gilles Magnus has just put in another quick lap. So Miney in the Ford Mustang quickest. Magnus has just gone 2nd, and then Marco Wittmann in 3rd place. Although Magnus's time, I think, has Wittmann has just gone through and gone a bit quicker. So Wittmann and Magnus keep swapping 2nd and 3rd. Thierry Vermeulen 4th, Jugen on 5th, Luca Engstler in 6th, Mirko Bortolotti in 7th, and Jordan Pepper in 8th. So Lamborghinis 6th, 7th, 8th. At the moment, then Maro Engel and Ben Durr in the top 10 as it stands, as they all find their feet now in this first dry session of the weekend.
Arjun Miney likes it around here, doesn't he? And I have to say, hats off to Haupt Racing for developing that Mustang. We've been watching them with a campaign in GT Masters alongside their DTM campaign, and for 3 weekends running, or 3 races running, HRT locked out the front row in GT Masters with the Ford Mustang. Last week at the Salzburg Ring, I'll get that right one day, which is about just over 200 kilometres down the road from here. He's just exploring downtown Spielberg. But what was really impressive is we had a red flag in the final GT Masters race last Sunday, and in the qualifying session, and Salman Vega, who's in an HRT Mustang, had 1 lap to get the tyres into the window and then 1 push lap, and he jumped to 2nd in the timing screens because the Mustangs can generate the heat in the tyres, and he heated the tyres to put in a 2nd fastest lap in 1 lap from cold, which just shows you how impressive those Mustangs are at getting the heat into the tyres, and that's significant when we come to qualifying.
It is apparently harder here at the Red Bull Ring than a lot of other circuits to get temperature into the tyres. So that could be, as you say, very good news for the Ford Mustangs. It's bad news for the Mercedes. Now, the Mercedes are kind on their tyres. They look after the tyres, and they're very good in terms of the races. It opens up a bit more opportunity in terms of strategy, in terms of deciding when to pit, because they don't eat up the tyres as much as the other cars. The downside to that is that the Mercedes take longer than most of the others to get the tyres up to temperature, which is never good when you're trying to get them hot and out there for qualifying, for a couple of quick minutes of qualifying. It's a 20-minute session, but realistically they only have 6 or 7 minutes of qualifying, because they'll go out, get some heat into the tyres, sit back in the garage, let the heat soak through from the brakes into the tyres, then go out and have 2, maybe 3 laps. Might get a few, 1 or 2 more, because it's a shortish lap around here, but the Mercedes might struggle around here. So that, yeah, it could be a benefit for them. Arjun Maini goes even quicker on that lap, averaging 208 kilometres an hour. Full commitment from the Indian driver. As you say, he likes this place. Best ever weekend for him in the DTM. Came here 12 months ago, got his maiden pole position and 2 podium finishes on the Saturday and Sunday, 2 third-place finishes. Was disappointed, of course, with one of them, because it started on pole, and you start on pole, you want to win the race, but it was still an excellent weekend for Arjun, as René Rast now goes absolute best in the middle sector. 2-time champion and teammate Marco Wittmann has already put some good laps in. He's second quickest at the moment. René is 4th. Arjun Maini's going even quicker through the first sector, though, and here comes René Rast to go to the top of the times for now in free practice too. But as I say, Arjun Maini is on a mission. Just to break the lap down for you, it's split into 3 sectors, so we can track the laps as they go. So sector 1 obviously starts at the start line, goes through turn 1, the kink at turn 2 up the hill, taken flat out, and then it ends. It's a very short first sector, so we don't get too excited when somebody goes absolute best in sector 1, because it only takes, well, at the moment, about 22 seconds to get through that first sector. The middle sector, sector 2, is key, because that's double the length in terms of the amount of time it takes to get through sector 2. So that takes in turns 3, 4, 5, 6, and ends just before you get to turn 7, and takes about 38, 39 seconds. And sector 3 takes in that run through turn 7 and 8, and then the downhill final 2 turns at 9 and 10, and is somewhere in the middle. It's about 26, 27 seconds to get through there. So the middle part of the lap is the absolute critical bit if you want to be top of the times, which is where Arjun Maini is at the moment. Not for long. Marco Wittmann comes through, and he goes a tad quicker with a 1:29.029.
And it's not going to be long forward to the 28s, is it? We always knew the BMW was going to be quick around here with the turbocharged car, high up altitude, giving them that advantage, that slight performance advantage. I think it's quite interesting, the bollards on turn 9 denote the track limits, and now the 1 bollard has gone. Everybody's now going to the 2nd bollard. I mean, is that still track limits? I mean, if we manage to get rid of all 3 bollards, how much further out can they go?
It's pushing the envelope, isn't it?
Yes.
On board with the 3-time champion René Rast, still in contention for this year's championship. He's had 5 DTM race wins around this circuit, which is more than anybody else on the current grid. And he's currently running 3rd quickest. But look how close it is. A 1:29.089 for Marco Wittmann, a 1:29.091, 0.02 of a second slower for Arjun Maini. And René Rast is 3rd with a 1:29.1 dead, which means you've only got 11 thousandths of a second currently between the top 3. However, René's just set the absolute best first sector, so he's looking to get quicker and quicker still. They're actually putting these lap times in on relatively long runs, aren't they? Although Marco Wittmann's coming in now, but they've done 4 or 5 laps, some of those drivers. So yeah, holding up, the tyres holding up, the track gripping up, and it continues to get quicker and quicker.
Yeah, well, that rain this morning washed off all the lovely rubber, so they've had to lay it all down again. And the temperature, say, it's probably ideal to extract the most out of the tyres. Nicky Tim was looking good this morning. He's 19th at the moment. Mirko Bortolotti, the other of the AB Sportsline cars, currently in 8th, so not too bad, but he's just under half a second off the fastest time at the moment. He was here last week in the GT Open at the Red Bull Ring, got a 4th place in the 2nd race, so he was doing a bit of testing here as part of that, as we have team radio from Lucas Hauer.
I cannot even give you a lot of feedback because it is all over the place, to be honest. I don't know what I should tell you.
Yeah, copy. We speak when you come here.
It's all over the place, says the championship leader. So a bit of work to be done on the setup here. It's going to be a really busy session, as you said, this, Brian, because they've got to cram in basically 2 sessions worth of practice and setup changes to try and figure it out. So Luigi there chatting to his race engineer, who's having a look at the data and giving some feedback there, gesticulating with the hands. And you can't hear the words that he's saying, but essentially from the gesticulations that he's making, it's a bit of a wrestle to get the car around for the Austrian. René Rast has gone quickest now, and he's in the 128s. Just 128.999. Emergency services on the way. René has got the qualifying lap record around here, but just to give you some context, there's more to come from the cars and the track when we get to qualifying tomorrow, because the qualifying lap record set by René Rast 2 years ago is a 127.671. So that's 1.3 seconds quicker. Oh no, that's Timo Glock up in smoke and flames.
I was about to interrupt you to say, great news for all the Timo Glock fans. He's back out. Well, that's going to bring out a red flag.
Yep.
Yeah, that's something very large blown up there, isn't it? And look at the grass smoking behind as well. I think that might be remnants of McLaren engine in the grass behind. So, yeah, he is having a torrid weekend once again. I can only assume that Timo Glock must walk under ladders for a living, because he's had nothing but bad luck. I think there might be a bit of burning going on under the covers, because he's looking fairly frantic to get it open. I think they want to get a fire extinguisher in there.
That's experience for you, isn't it? Timo Glock sort of running away straight away, goes, think about the car, come on, we might need to get this air into this. That's the run at the top of the hill between turns 3 and 4. There are some flames now, so they might have to get the fire extinguishers on it. Trouble with that, Brian, is fire extinguisher makes a real mess when you get it on the cars, and takes forever to get off. The mechanics hate it, but they're going to have to do it because flames have started.
Yeah, my technical knowledge is not great, but it's good enough to tell you that that is a very serious mechanical fault. I know it's engine, turbo, whatever it is, but that is a big moment. And you could just see from his body language that he's just like pretty fed up about it all.
Just them in a lift now.
Yeah, yes, because they're all going back to the pits. I think he could probably take his race suit off now and chill out for the rest of the day. It's going to be a long night for Durr Motorsport, I think, because they've got a lot of work to do on that car.
Now, that's 2 sessions gone. Basically, did you do 1 lap, mate? No, you did a couple of laps.
Yeah.
But nothing at high speed, really. It's just tootled out and come back into the pits a couple of times.
Yeah, you got 6.
But like a 140 is his best lap time rather than a 129. So he hasn't actually done a proper lap yet, and he's going to go completely cold into tomorrow now, isn't he? Which is suboptimal.
Yeah, well, I think we're going to have a look here, maybe what happened. It's like a land speed record, isn't it? It's just in the distance. I think it's safe to say that whatever the problem was this morning, they didn't sort it. There's
not a lot of warning there, it just went, didn't it?
That's motherable blow-ups, I'd say.
Yeah, and no doubt he's probably deposited something on the surface of the racetrack as well. Oil, one would imagine.
Yeah.
That might take a while to clear up. Now, that affects everybody else as well, because if it's a qualifying session, the clock stops.
Yeah.
And you lose time, of course, the lap you're on, and then time getting back out of the pits, etc. But in free practice, the clock does not stop. Not normally, anyway. So this is going to affect everybody else. The red flag came out, a couple of minutes ago?
Yep.
So they will have only done about 15, 20 minutes of running, haven't they?
2.5 minutes ago it came out, so yes. And I have to say, great that Timo immediately pulled it onto the grass, not leaving fluids on the track if it was an engine blow-up. That's kind of wisdom, isn't it? You just get it out of the way quickly on a very fast section of the track.
I was just thinking, as I was watching that picture, the last 2 Fridays at the Nürburgring and the Sachsenring have been really good for Timo Glock. He's ended up quickest in the free practice sessions the last 2 Fridays, hasn't he? It hasn't quite worked out for him in qualifying, but there's definitely been signs of improvement for him, and better pace and mixing it up there, and a tyre issue in qualifying at the Sachsenring. But today's Friday's been an utter nightmare.
I'm wondering why the thumbs up and hand signals to René Rast, clearly directed there. I wonder whether René may have been directly behind him when it went. I don't know what.
Could have been, yeah. It's a little smile in the eyes of René Rast there, wasn't there? Just as a response to the kind of maybe, as you say, maybe apology that was coming from
She maybe
Timo.
just showered him with something.
It would have been interesting being right behind that, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Be like being behind Sean Connery's Aston Martin in the Bond film when he lets the smoke come out of that. No idea where you're going.
Now you're showing your age. All right, well, there's about £250,000 worth of DTM car hanging off a crane there. Get it on the low loader, get it back to the garage. They've already cleared a space in the garage ready to receive it.
I actually see a lot of any work going on in terms of on the track at the moment.
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether there was...
Be amazed if there's no oil down there.
Yeah, but I don't know what else would have caused smoke quite like that. But that was the biggest one I've seen like that. And what is that?
Bits of McLaren. Hype, isn't it?
I don't know. It looks like a bit.
Oh, it's
the bollards. It's the bollards.
Oh, look. See, we've got a bright,
new one
shiny
now.
new orange
Yeah,
one there.
good
The
luck
rest
with
of them have got tyre marks on.
What is going on there?
Thumbs up. Is he after a lift back?
I don't know if he wants a lift or a Renault. What's Renault going to do about it? Yeah. I don't know what that's well, there's a bit of investigative journalism to do after this session.
Try and find out. Yeah. What's all that about? Oh dear. Right. Anyway, there's no anger there. That's for sure. You could see the smile in René's eyes, couldn't you?
Yeah. I reckon he was behind him when it went, but we've gotten on board for René as well, I think so. But hey, we'll find out in the end. So everybody back to the garage now. As you say, the clock continues to tick down. So we've got 23 3/4 minutes remaining. As long as there's not too much fluid on the track, then hopefully they can get this thing back going again fairly soon. But this is, remember, the only dry session that we've had. Who's that on the door there? Of the Schubert car. I don't recognise who that is. But yeah, so this is the only dry session we've had on account of the fact that this morning was a washout. So this is quite critical. Makes it quite exciting for tomorrow, doesn't it?
Might well go into tomorrow morning's qualifying session with more than usual anyway, a zip clue as to who's going to be going for pole position based on what we haven't seen on Friday so far. Remember, 3 points if you qualify on pole position, so that can affect things. We've had Jack Aitken and Jordan Pepper both picked up 13 points apiece just from the points they've scored in qualifying. Restart scheduled for 2 minutes time, which sort of tells me actually miraculously there can't have been a lot of fluid down on the circuit, because if I fully expected there'd be a line of oil basically all the way from turn 3 to where the car pulled up, but doesn't seem to have been the case, because we're going to get underway in about a minute and a half's time, which will give them just about 21 minutes of the session to go. Then it becomes, when you've done an out lap, 19 and a half minutes. So yeah, it's not a lot of time, is it, to try and cram things in there for everybody else.
Forgive my technical ignorance, but which there's a lot of it. That blue smoke, could that have come from just a turbo failure? I mean, you're mechanically better than knowledgeable than that. I mean, I
can hear my dad guffawing. He is an engineer. He didn't pass any of that on to me.
Certainly not me. The twin turbo McLaren. And I just wonder whether it wasn't an engine, because they said it was a turbo failure this morning, and I'm wondering. But I'm afraid my technical knowledge doesn't stretch that far to know whether a turbo failure could create that much smoke. But it looked like an engine absolutely grenading from a distance.
Yeah,
but
still smoking away now. Look on the back of the very hot, isn't it? On the back of that recovery flatbed. So that car headed back. We're not going to see that again till tomorrow. And as you say, it might be a pretty late night for the Durr Motorsports team, but we are scheduled to get back underway shortly with the two BMWs, first and second. The circuit that they were, as much as René Rast at the Nürburgring said, yeah, we're not looking forward to the Sachsenring, that's a bad track for us. This is definitely a good one. In the GT3 era of the DTM since 2021, the results at the Red Bull Ring, René Rast has taken 2 wins in the DTM in this era. Of course, he got his other 3 wins in the Class 1 era of DTM at this track. Liam Lawson, as I said, got a couple of wins in a Ferrari, but not the current iteration, not the 296. And then we've had a Lamborghini win.
There might be a bit of oil exiting T3 on the right-hand side.
Yes, there might be. Kelvin van der Linde had a win in the Audi, Nick Cassidy in a Ferrari, and Thomas Preining in a Porsche. So BMW haven't exactly dominated in terms of wins of late. René Rast has had the most poles here in the GT3 era too. And he's also equally had the most podiums here. He's had 3 podiums here. Thomas Preining, though, has also had 3 podiums in the last 4 years around this circuit. So it's fairly evenly spread. As I say, it was back in the 80s when we first raced at the DTM, the previous iteration of the circuit, but it's come and gone from the circuit over the years. So there's only actually ever been 23 DTM races around either the Red Bull Ring or its previous incarnation, the A1 Ring, the Oostenrijk Ring. And we've had 14 different winners. So it tells you it's usually pretty wide open here. It's a circuit that delivers lots of overtaking opportunities as well, because for all these very quick sections and straights you've also got, like this corner, turn 4, some pretty heavy braking zones. There's a lot of undulation. Let me tell you, it is a steep climb from turn 1 up to turn 3, a very steep climb. You can get the sense of it with the camera that's up at turn 3, but TV pictures still flatten things out, and until you try and walk up it or run up it, you don't realise just how steep it is. It's quick as well. They'll, a couple of times around here, get up to 3 times around the lap, they get up to over 250 kilometres an hour. We've seen average speeds around about 218, 219 kilometres an hour around here as well. So the slowest corner on the lap, the biggest braking zone, is up at turn 3 at the top of the hill. They're approaching it flat out all the way from the exit to turn 1, and they go from 260 kilometres an hour down to just 60 kilometres an hour. And what you normally get at this turn, Brian, is all sorts of different lines, because you can dive up the inside of somebody, but you can keep it going around the outside as well. And then this is where the McLaren went. This run between turns 3 and 4 at the top of the hill undulates a little bit. There's also a couple of kinks in it, but it's all flat out again until you get to the next big braking zone, which is coming up at turn 4, which they approach downhill. This is the right-hander here, and that's only 90 kilometres an hour as well.
And it's into turn 4 where we often see cars, and we saw it this morning, going straight on. There's a gravel trap there. There is an escape road, but yeah, it's really tricky in that downhill section.
Yeah.
But as you said, from
see there the drop just before you go onto the brakes.
I know it's quite a steep downhill. When you walk or run the circuit, you get a sense of that. And as you mentioned, between turns 1 and 3, turn 2, well, it's called a turn, but it is just a kink taken flat out. It means they do reach incredible speeds as they head up the hill towards turn 3. But it's such a great circuit. It's fast, creates loads of overtaking opportunities. I think just the issue we always get every year here is track limits. We've had certainly 10, 12 track limit warnings already in this session, and that is always the ongoing issue. I know for Formula 1, they put in some little gravel beds to outline the track limits, but they had to remove them because of the MotoGP racing here and various other classes. Yeah, that's the only issue you have here. Apart from that, it's, you know, in my book, it's almost the perfect track.
Yeah, it's a great track. It's a great track for spectators that are here as well, because of the elevation changes. The grandstands are usually up on like a turn 1 on the last corner. They're at the elevated corners, so you get really good views around most of the lap if you come and visit the circuit. It's also beautiful scenery around here, and all the villages are lovely. It's, we flew into Vienna, and the drive is about an hour and 50 minutes, 2 hours to where we're staying, which is still about half an hour away from here. But we didn't see any of it last night because it was dark, the flight was late. But it is just a spectacular drive. You just enjoy driving from Vienna in the daylight, at least, to the venues. Just very picturesque. So Engine Gun back into the pits already. This driver came here last year, Engine Gun, with no race wins in the DTM. Now suddenly he's a 4-time race winner in the DTM, following his most recent success is that double victory at the Sachsenring.
Yeah, he's won twice as many as any other driver this year, which is really impressive stuff for somebody who took his debut win this year. As we look at Ricardo Fella, you were talking about the beautiful scenery here. Of course, next year the DTM season kicks off here at the Red Bull Ring. The good news is we don't have to wait a year to come back here. And it's in April of next year, the season opener here at the Red Bull Ring. I was here in May a few years ago for an event, and it got snowed off. So good luck with that. I reckon we might, at the very least, have snow-capped mountains. I'm quite excited for that. for
Brian's
this
bringing his
season opener.
skis.
Yes, I know. I am thinking, do I pack the skis or not? Because if there's ever a place to get stranded, it's going to be at the Red Bull Ring. That would be great. Wouldn't mind that at all. But it's spectacular here. And yeah, I have been here in the past where the mountains, the Styrian mountains in the background, have snow on to the tops. And I'm kind of expecting that for the season opener next year.
Ricardo fella in the Land Audi then, meant to be racing a Porsche, but that deal fell through. The team dropped out last minute. Land Motorsport, with whom he'd won the GT Masters Championship back in 2021, came to the rescue, assembled the old team. They got here into the DTM, their first season in DTM, as Ricardo kisses the gravel there on the exit to turn 6 with his right side tyres. And they've had some bad luck this year. They've had pace at most of the events, and fantastic podium finish that he got, the team's first podium and Ricardo's first podium of the year at the Nürburgring a couple of rounds ago. Remember, it's only 2 years ago that he went into the season finale at Hockenheim in 2023 in real contention for the championship title, finished third in the end when he was with Abt driving a different Audi to this. So Ricardo fella pushing on. He was very quick, wasn't he, in the wet this morning?
So pretty much everyone except 3 cars on the same strategy and is back in the box. So we'll do like a qualifying stuff, 15 to 10 minutes. Yeah,
what do we say? Heat soak.
Practice run then.
Yes,
yeah, see how it works.
All bar 3 cars. So it's only Fella, Glock, no, not Glock, 2 cars out on track, Fella and Gallagher, because one of those 3 is Timo Glock. So only 2 cars, but everybody else. So interesting, they're now doing the heat soak sequence where they allow the heat from the brakes to soak through the rims into the tyres. Of course, tyre warmers not allowed in the DTM. And they'll be doing this tomorrow for quali. So this is really important to get this right.
Did actually get a lap in, didn't he, Timo Glock? Like a proper one, a 1:29.4. He's still 8th.
Yeah.
So that's something. Yeah, René Rast heading back out, look across to the pit lane. Fabio Scherer's car is poked out of the garage, but not yet going. We've got all 3 Manthey Porsches still in the garage. We've got the 2 Winward Mercedes of Jules Gounon and Maro Engel, I can see from the commentary box, still sat in the garage waiting to go. And I think both the Abt Lamborghinis and the Ferrari I can see of Ben Green as well. Jack Aitken's Ferrari is still in the garage, and Thierry Vermeulen's still in the garage. There is Jack Aitken sitting, playing the waiting game. So 13 minutes to go. Be a bit of a waiting game tomorrow morning as well, I think, for qualifying, especially, as I said, where they need all the heat in the tyres they can get. It takes a bit longer than other circuits. There goes Fabio. So Fabio Scherer heading down the pit lane now. Just looking at the qualifying's been a bit troublesome for Fabio so far this year. His 2nd season of DTM, 1st season of DTM in GT3 cars, but he's had good paces in the race normally. He's normally there fighting in the points. He's had a couple of cracking first laps where he's picked up 8, 9, 10 places on the opening laps of the race. But qualifying, they could do with improving upon the best. Fabio Scherer's qualified this year, a couple of 16ths, 1 at the Saxon Ring and 1 at the Norris Ring. So he's only averaging 15th so far. The best qualifier on average has been Jordan Pepper. He's averaged 6th on the grid, 6th in qualifying. But you've got Jack Aitken, Lucas Auer, Maro Engel and Jules Gounon and Thomas Preining, who've also done well. They've averaged 7th in qualifying so far across the course of the season in 2025.
This is an exact rehearsal of qualifying. It's exactly what we would normally see. About 11 and a half minutes remaining of the session, and now suddenly everybody's coming out. So this is the qualifying simulation. This is going to give us some good clues for tomorrow, I should think. So now almost everybody is on the move. We've got 4 or 5 cars that are yet to come out of the pits, and it's going to be everybody out, with the exception of Timo Glock, of course, in a few moments. But this is great. We don't often see this in free practice, where it's kind of almost like a hard reset and a complete rehearsal for what we're going to see tomorrow morning.
Quali's always important, but as I said, this is a circuit where you can overtake, so it's not quite as critical as it is at other circuits where it might be more difficult to come through if you have a lowly grid position. But you don't want to be in the middle of the pack. That's where incidents can happen. If you have a bad qualifying, it can wreck your weekend, or at least wreck your day if you get caught up in somebody else's incident. Be at the front, be away from all the trouble, That's the idea. So that's why they're so keen to do it. And of course, if you're a championship contender, you're also thinking about points. As a reigning champion then, Mirko Bortolotti, and he is running in that Lamborghini Huracan, felt they'd made a bit of progress with the car at the Saxon Ring. They had a good day on the Friday, but again they were Mirko was about 7/10 off the ultimate pace in qualifying. So he's had some issues with his car, which they reckon they'd resolved, and that was in comparison to his teammate Nicky Tim's car. The main problem has been a lack of speed on the straights. That's not necessarily related to power. It might be related to how the car comes off the previous corner, how quickly it can accelerate up to those top speeds. But there's definitely been one or two signs of improvement for Abt running that Lamborghini Huracan for the first time this season. And Mirko said to me a couple of rounds ago, really the goal is to try and improve enough that we can fight for a podium towards the end of the season. But it's been a very, very frustrating year for Mirko Bortolotti, with the one highlight coming at Spa, the 24-hour race win that he got, which was a fantastic achievement for him and Jordan Pepper and Luke Rexler, who drove the car together for one of the great 24-hour races.
I think Ben Green's just rocked out of the pit, so everybody now out on track with less than 9.5 minutes remaining. So qualifying simulation time. Now the question is, stationary out on the pits.
That's one of the that's one of the Landgraf cars. Is Lucas Auer.
Lucas Auer, yeah.
So Luki Auer
That's going to be a red flag
on the straight,
surely. The engine's running. Sounds like maybe he's lost some transmission. Oh, he's lost the engine as well now.
The last time Lucas Auer had a technical issue, it's been a long time. This is the one driver that has finished in the points in every single race in 2025. Very rare that you see that, isn't it? We've had two technicals now, one for Timo Glock and one for Lucas Auer.
Full course yellow instead of a red flag, so they're going to keep it going. Good rehearsal for full course yellow, so that's about to come out. Here we go. But so he'd done a lap and then just come to a stop. He said it was all over the place, didn't he? Well, let's have a listen.
I don't know what's wrong. Something wrong. So you have to stop. I'm a bit scared because it's smoking, so something collapsed.
Smoking has suddenly collapsed. So is that suspension related then, potentially? And he's just pulled it over.
I mean, we can hear the engine was running in there, so but I wondered if it was transmission. Is that a trail? No, it's not oil, or there's a trail of something there behind. I don't know if that's coming from him or not.
Looks like, that's the direction he's pulled off.
So there's potentially oil coming out of a diff or something. Anyway, I'm really showing my technical expertise here.
Now, all of these drivers are going to go into tomorrow's qualifying session with a total lack of preparation, aren't they? It's like going into a big exam and not really having had the chance to do your revision. The Marshall's just having a look underneath the car on the left-hand side. I'm going to try and push it backwards, but of course this is affecting everybody else now. Clock continues to run down, less than 7.5 minutes to go, and most of them haven't got a great deal of meaningful running in, especially given that it was wet this morning for free practice 1. Still close though, 0.8 of a second between the top 19 in the session.
Wow, this has been one seriously interrupted session, hasn't it? And with the rain this morning, this is good for quali tomorrow though.
Sort of helps Timo Glock a little bit as well, because he missed that first session, but it was wet. Might not be any help for the rest of the weekend if we don't get any more rain. And now he's missed the vast majority of this session, but it's been interrupted firstly by his cause of the red flag, and then because of this as well. Right, this is the lap before the car went on board with Lucas Auer. Let's see if we can spot what happened. Rumbling over the curbs goes the current championship leader. He's about to go over the brow into turn 9. All fine so far. Doesn't sound like it's missing, does it? Clips the curb, runs a bit wide, just misses the bollards. Through turn 10 he goes. 140 kilometres an hour, accelerating up. There, big rattle.
That's a transmission-related issue, isn't it?
Sounds it.
Yeah.
That's not suspension, is it?
Yeah.
Car was fine through the corner before, wasn't it?
Yeah. Diff or...
Yeah, there's the smoke.
Gearbox.
Just see it on the picture there that he was talking about.
Yeah.
Well, better today than tomorrow,
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely.
If you're going to have an issue, have it on a Friday. But it doesn't help him, and it doesn't help anybody else either, missing all this running now.
I was about to say before that happened that do you think any of the drivers would be sandbagging without wishing to show too much? Well, they haven't had the opportunity to show too much so far. Everybody's scared there'll be a BOP change overnight.
I don't think so. Nobody knows what's happening.
But nobody knows, because we actually haven't had a proper stretch of dry weather running, really, have we? So, yes, yet another caution. It's going to be, well, once that car is removed and the low loader's off the circuit, we're going to have a couple of minutes left in this session. So there's not a lot more data that's going to be gathered from this session, I don't think.
Actually, pretty rare. I mean, we've talked about Lucas Auer. When was the last time he had a technical issue? I'm going to have to go back through a lot of notes to find that out. It's a long time. It's not very often that you see any DTM car have a proper technical problem, is it?
Two within 20 minutes.
Might be retirements, but it's usually related to damage, isn't it? Or punctures or so forth from the races. But
that maybe tells you something about the pressure on man and machine that this circuit is. You're high up and it's fast. And it may well be that it's this environment that puts the most pressure on the cars, I think. Maybe it is a car-braking circuit.
Well, it showed the importance of getting out there early, which certainly René Rast and Marco Wittmann and Arjun Maini did. And could be that they'll end up the fastest through with only 4.5 minutes to go from those earlier lap times, with René Rast the only one to break the 1:29 barrier. Just for reference, getting on for 10 seconds a lap quicker than they were when it was really wet for the first half of that first free practice session this morning. And only 92 thousandths of a second between the three of them. Ricardo Feller, not long before that red flag came out, a couple of minutes before it managed to pop in his quickest lap to go 4th. So good in the dry, good in the wet for Ricardo. And then Jordan Pepper 5th, Bender 6th, Jack Aitken 7th, Timo Glock only did 1, maybe 2 laps, 8th. Tom Callender 9th, he was in the top 10 in the first session as well, looking good for Tom. And then Mirko Bortolotti had got himself into the top 10 and actually had set a personal best first sector on that lap, and then the red flags came out, so Mirko was looking pretty good. Thierry Vermeulen 11th, Lucas Auer, who's brought about this full course yellow, 12th, and Gilles Magnus 13th, Maro Engor in 14th, Luca Engstler in 15th. Now, because of the stoppages that we've had, there is some flexibility here, and free practice 2, as you can see, is going to be extended with 5 additional minutes because of these 2 big delays that we've had, 1 red flag and 1 full course yellow.
Well, it wouldn't have been worth getting going again, really, would it,
no.
with 2 minutes on the clock? So that's a very wise move. You would have seen the graphic also said, check full course yellow speed limit, and a whole list of numbers. I don't know if that's a random check or whether there's somebody at the side of the track with a speed gun, but the stewards on top of health and safety, really important that if there's a full course yellow out, particularly here on the pit straight, that people are well within the speed limit. So this is Lucas Auer once again, so we're going to have another listen to what might have happened, and we can see his eyes as it happens, I should think.
Obviously a bit of smoke on this angle as well. You can see it a little bit from the forward-facing camera. You'll hear a big clunk about 2-3 seconds after he comes out of the last turn and gets onto the start-finish straight. Great view this. I love the driver's eye perspective. His eyes were wide open and unblinking in the wet earlier on, so he's coming into turn 9, downhill, rumbling over the curbs into turn 10. In about 3 seconds time, you'll hear a big clunk. There.
Sounds like
Juddering, really juddering, yeah.
I mean, he's lost all drive, and you can hear something rattling around under the car.
Pulled it straight over, didn't he, which was great, rather than causing more damage to the car.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think they're not treating the track, so I don't think there's any oil down. We saw that black trail, but I don't think there's anything that they're working on there. So, hopefully we'll be back underway in a few minutes because they've got that car safely out of the way, and the team at Landgraf will set to work on that. Just not to let everybody else out.
It's a pretty full track. We've got Maro Engel just leaving the pits. Arjun Maini's up on the jacks at the moment, but most of them are out there on the track. 21 of the 23 remaining, 20 of the 22 remaining cars on track. So even though they're not achieving anything because they're behind full course yellow, it's showing that they want to be out there as soon as that flag goes green, because they've got to now try and squeeze in a bit of a rehearsal for qualifying tomorrow. Although, will it be a realistic rehearsal given that they are now circulating in the heating the tyres, etc., rather than going out cold from the pit lane? Full course yellow ends in 10 seconds.
Yep, so a bonus 5 minutes for everybody who's stuck with it. Well done. And thank you for joining us. Hopefully a good 5 minutes to finish off with. We'll see what is going to happen. So everybody who is running is now either on the track or about to enter the track, because Arjun Maini is also rolling. So 1:28.999, Rene Rast, the quickest of everybody. I think with 5¼ minutes remaining, it is possible to get the tyres into the window and try and beat that. But it's not just about getting a quick time, it's about finalising that setup, because the next time out on track, it will be for quali tomorrow morning.
Okay, on board with Arjun Guan up there, third in the championship. This is the charge uphill, as you'll notice, on the way into turn 1. So it's a downhill exit from turn 10. He's following his teammate in the Manthey Junior car of Maurice Skeuring, and try not to go to the back of him. All three of the Manthey cars together. Manthey lead the championship. It's a Manthey Team Junior car for Maurice Skeuring, the orange car, the rookie. But essentially, they are all part of the same team. There's a slightly separate garage, but they all swap and share information, ducking down the inside as he goes into the right-hander at the top of the hill at turn 3. Here's Arjun Guan pushing on. This is where the McLaren of Timo Glock blew up and put that pile of smoke down this run to turn 4, to 5th gear, 245 kilometers an hour. Slow it down to 2nd gear, 90 kilometers an hour. And again, the track drops downhill here. This is a corkscrew ride downhill through the right-hander and 4th gear at turn 5. Slow it down to 3rd gear for this left-hander at turn 6, 130k. But again, the track drops quite steeply out of there, so you get sucked to the outside of the circuit into the left-hander at turn 7 at 150 kilometers an hour. And then, of course, the steepest declines are those last 2 corners at turns 9 and 10. Over the crest, you're on board now with the Porsche as it goes over the crest, and then it's a steep drop downhill here, but in particular, look, coming out of the final turn just down there into the valley, flat for a while as you go over the start-finish line, and then you start another lap and begin the climb uphill as well. Doesn't take long, does it, to wrap around 4.2 kilometers of Red Bull Ring.
And of course, you do get the slipstream effect as well, and Manthey may be mindful of that. And that's something that might become a factor tomorrow morning. You're pointing at the screen.
Yeah.
It's looking very dark. Unfortunately, we've only got 3 minutes left of this session, because it does look like it's going to rain sometime soon.
There's actually a couple of spots of rain on the windscreen there as well. It looks like it's coming. It might miss us, but over in the distance, we are up in the mountains. We had low cloud this morning when we got to the circuit, and the weather can be a bit volatile. So Rene Rast pushing on. Mirko Bortolotti has done a personal best first sector, trying to pick up where he left off. Rene Rast, though, the long middle sector, an absolute best for the 3-time champion. Mirko Bortolotti does a 39.6 through the middle sector, so he's lost nearly 0.4 of a second compared to the best middle sector in the Lamborghinis. So that's why he's struggling. Look at those dark clouds, dark skies in the background. Just over 2 minutes to go. Rene Rast, is he about to go quickest of all in the session again? He already was. He goes even quicker than he went before. 0.3 quicker than his own previous lap time.
That's very impressive, 0.4 quicker than Marco Wittmann. But Mirko Bortolotti, up into P5, so that's a good job there, although he is 0.639 back from Rene Rast. But remember, he did some running here in the GT Open last weekend. Not that he needs any practice, you understand, but certainly looking a lot more dialed in than he has been so far this season, really.
All of the remaining cars out there at the moment, all 22 of them. We lost Timo Glock early on in the session, and we lost just a few minutes ago Lucas Auer, stopped on the straight with a heavy clunking on the cars. Marco Wittmann, who's looked very good here so far as well. Absolute best in the middle sector for the 2014 and 2016 DTM champion, the man from Fürth in Bavaria, then takes the car over the line. Can he pip his teammate, go to the top of the times? Almost, but not quite. 51 thousandths of a second between the two BMWs.
And still the Mustang in third place of Arjumani, looking very good. We already mentioned he likes it here. Ricardo Feller has proven he's got pace in the wet and the dry here, because he's in fourth. Make that fifth, because Ben Green has just popped up into P4. He'll have memories of his back-to-back win here in the GT Masters in 2022, albeit in a BMW, but he loves this place, and he's just shown that into that fourth place. Here comes Rene Rast again. Personal best in Sector 2, a 129.509.
Yeah,
sorry, 128.674 is still his best.
Ben Green, 2 podiums in the last 2 race weekends, really starting to come good now in that Ferrari. That could be particularly helpful for his teammate, Jack Aitken, who's trying to win the championship. If you're fighting for a championship, you want good teammates around you to try and take points away from your rivals and be up there at the sharp end with you. Gilles Magnussen has gone third quickest in the Aston Martin. That Aston is looking good this weekend, so we'll see what they can do when it gets to qualifying tomorrow. But wet, damp, dry, it's been up there or thereabouts in every iteration of the circuit so far this weekend. Ricardo Feller in 10th place improves his first sector but not his overall lap time. And the checkered flag now comes out with Rast, Wittmann, Magnus and Pepper the top 4, Miney 5th, Vermeulen in 6th, and Marco Wittmann is the first to take the checkered flag with a 128.7. So that's encouraging. That's another quick lap time. That one was only 15 thousandths of a second away from his best lap time. So it's not just one quick lap from Marco, he's done a few.
Wow, really interesting stuff, and that really, well, it poses more questions than answers for tomorrow, really, doesn't it? But yeah, isn't it good to see the Aston Martins? Great to welcome them to the grid of DTM this year as it goes past the remaining bollard and the other 2 lying dead on the track. But yes, they sound good, they look good, and they are competitive here at the Red Bull Ring.
This today has been a bit like a Hollywood summer blockbuster movie. Did you learn anything? Was it educational? No, not really. But I did have a good time. And that's what today's been all about. But we've got zero education about who is going to be up there tomorrow. I suppose with the exception of that BMW, as we expected, looks really good around here in the dry and looked pretty hard work when it was wet. And the Aston Martins have been a bit of a revelation as well. Nicola Bart also up there in the top 10 now.
Yes, and here's Fabio Scherer in the Mustang that's also been looking very quick, so he just comes out to finish. So he'll cross the line. He was in 15th, 129.306, so he hasn't improved on that, but some pace in the Mustang as well.
And they're at it again, all but one within a second of each other. So 23 of the 24 cars within a second of each other around. I know it's a shorter lap than we get at some other places, but that's still really impressive. But Lucas Auer, 23rd, car issue. We got Thomas Pryny was down there in 17th. Jules Gounon down in 21st. Luca Exler 16th, Maro Engel only 14th. So a lot of the front runners normally not right up there. Rene Rast though, absolutely up there. 128.674, just over half a tenth quicker than his teammate Marco Wittmann. Gilles Magnussen in the Come To You Racing Aston Martin 3rd quickest, but only 3 thousandths quicker than Jordan Pepper, who was 4th. Arjumani 5th, and Nguyen in 6th place. Then Mirko Bortolotti, encouragement again on a Friday. Let's hope it turns into something really positive on a Saturday. He was there in 7th place. Jack Aitken and Ben Green just outside the top 10 were 11th and 12th. Ricardo Feller, who looked mighty in the wet this morning, 13th. And as I say, Maro Engel, one of the championship contenders, he's in the top 6 in the points, back down in 14th place. So we didn't really learn a great deal in all of that, but they did at least get some running thanks to that slightly extended session. 5 minutes added on because of the breakdown on the start-finish line for Lucas Auer and the earlier red flag where time was lost as well. Qualifying tomorrow starts at 9:10 in the morning, an early start, and we'll be on air about 5 minutes before that with all of the build-up. Super slow-mos then of your top 3 from free practice to the one dry session that we've had today. Gilles Magnussen, Marco Wittmann, and then top of the tree, Rene Rast. A great weekend here, and he'll go to Hockenheim and the final weekend in 2 weekends' time, in with a real shout of trying to become a 4-time DTM champion. This is the absolute fastest lap of the session then, on board with Rene Rast, replaying it from a few minutes ago, and again, like his teammate, setting several quick lap times. on the curbs, uphill, on the brakes, into the first corner, second gear, 110 kilometers an hour, already over 200 kilometers an hour. And then the flat out left-hand kink coming up, turn 2, this one, flat out, 240 kilometers an hour, uphill, 250 kilometers an hour, fifth gear, down all the way to first gear, going down the gearbox, clipping the inside apex, only 60 kilometers an hour through there, and you're flat out, building up the speed. Little undulations here, rollers up and downhill, a few kinks as well, but you're not turning the wheel again until you get to turn 4, where you go from fifth gear, sixth gear, down to just 90 kilometers an hour, running wide but not too wide, downhill through the right-hander at turn 5, 210 kilometers an hour, into the left now, so drag it across to the right to get the ideal line through the corner at turn 6, third gear, 130 kilometers an hour, up to 190 kilometers an hour now, then dab on the brakes, down to third, 150 kilometers an hour, right-hand kink through turn 8, 180 kilometers an hour, rattle the curbs, uphill climb, over the crest, and now it drops downhill on the approach to turn 9, 160 kilometers an hour through this right-hander at turn 4, mind the bollards on the left, just misses them, and then fourth gear, third gear, 140 kilometers an hour through turn 10, flat out now, up to over 240 kilometers an hour as you go across the start-finish line. Lap complete, and that was the fastest lap of the day, and a BMW Schubert Motorsport 1-2 on Friday afternoon with René Rast and Marco Wittmann as the fastest 2 drivers. So join Brian Oliver and me, Chris Hartley, again tomorrow for race day number 1 here at the Red Bull Ring. Until then, thanks for your company. Bye for now.